Hi. I haven't uploaded in months, and I think it's time to talk about why. The truth is, the passion just hasn't been there, especially, or rather specifically, when it comes to video games, which has always been my bread and butter. This video is my attempt to unpack how that happened, what has changed, both with me and in the industry, and just to talk about it, just get it off my mind. Gaming wasn't just a hobby for me, it was my job for years. I worked on games like Hearthstone, Fortnite, World of Warcraft, Among Us, Brawl Stars, Marvel Snap, all to some degree at a professional level. Before the pandemic, I was casting anything I could, chasing every opportunity I could find, from small studio productions to major international tournaments. I said yes to everything. I lived for it, and I genuinely loved it. It felt amazing to be a part of something exciting, something global, something that mattered to other people too. But when you turn something you love into your job, it slowly changes your relationship with it. You go from playing a game to relax to studying a game like homework. Even in my downtime, it never really felt like I was off. I was still in that professional mindset, analysing matters, thinking about broadcast angles, watching games with commentary structure in my head. I couldn't just enjoy the moment. And this wasn't just a job shift. Gaming had been a part of my core identity for most of my life. My earliest friendships at school were built around games like Spyro the Dragon. That was our language. That was how we made friends when I was 7, 8 years old. I'm pretty sure that's how I became friends with Ryan, my best friend at school. A love of Spyro the Dragon. Then we got older and it became Final Fantasy. I remember sharing memories and stories with my friend Alex, who got me into that, Final Fantasy 12. That was when I fell in love with story in games. And then Halo, which introduced me to online multiplayer. And it made me fall in love with competitive gaming. These games weren't just entertainment. They were social glue. They were how I bonded with people, how I learned to be confident. Gaming gave me a sense of mastery, a sense of community, a sense of self. So when that spark started to fade, it wasn't just a shift in interest. It felt like losing a piece of myself. And it's taken me a long time even to admit that out loud. Okay, now let's sidetrack for a second. Let's talk about the state of the industry, because it is rough out there. AAA games are unsustainably big now. They take 6, 7, even 10 years to make. They cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and because of that, they have to be enormous hits just to break even. That pressure leads to incredibly safe creative decisions, remakes, sequels, open world, live service games. We've seen hundreds of these. If a game doesn't hit the unrealistic expectations set to them by the investors, I guess, it's not just a disappointment. It's a bloodbath. Whole studios get shut down, entire teams laid off, talented, hard-working developers discarded like they were nothing. In the past year alone, we've seen mass layoffs at major studios like Blizzard, Naughty Dog, CD Projekt Red, and more recently, Microsoft. Microsoft just laid off nearly 2,000 people from its gaming division, despite having, of course, acquired Activision Blizzard in one of the biggest deals in gaming history. It sends a grim message. Even the biggest companies with the most resources are still prioritizing profits over people. And every time it happens, it sends shockwaves through the community. Not just because people are losing their jobs, but because it feels like creativity itself is being punished. Games aren't being made for fun anymore. They're being made to survive in a high-stakes corporate arms race. Look at games like Hi-Fi Rush, incredibly successful, incredibly universally loved, incredibly unique, and still not good enough to keep the studio around. And it sucks. As someone who's worked around this industry, obviously I've never been a game maker, but I've been in the orbit. I've known people. It's heartbreaking to watch the soul get drained out of people in real time. let's talk about live service games, because I'm tired. I'm really tired of them. When there were 1 or 2 live service games, it was fun. There was novelty. You picked your one game, you invested in it, and it felt like an event. But now everything is a live service. Every game has a battle pass, daily objectives, login streaks, rotating shops, limited time events. The design isn't about fun. It's about retention. It's about keeping you trapped in the loop so you don't drop off. The real problem is that every game wants to be your only game. They all expect you to devote yourself completely, like it's your full-time job. But there are now too many of them trying to be that one game, and because of that, most of them fail to maintain the player base they need. It's not like the old days of Halo 3 or Call of Duty Modern Warfare, where everyone was playing the same few titles. Back then, a game could become a shared experience. Now it's just noise. And ironically, that makes me want to commit to none of them. FOMO plays a massive role in that. Every game has some limited time event, some exclusive unlock, some reward you'll miss if you don't log in constantly. But instead of motivating me to play, that pressure puts me off. I don't want another job. I want to have fun. And even when it comes to cosmetics, which frankly I used to defend. I used to be a big defender of cosmetics being paid as long as the gameplay isn't. Like, I still think that's preferable to the alternative, but cosmetics have lost all meaning now. Back in the day, if you saw someone with a cool piece of armor in a game like Recon in Halo 3, you knew they'd earned it. It was a badge of honor, something they'd worked for, achieved. I remember checking Halo's website during school lunch breaks just to look at my medal history and compare stats with friends. How many double kills did you get yesterday? How many Killionaires have you had? You'd see every little detail about what you'd accomplished. That kind of thing was motivating. It felt like the game was proud of you and gave you ways to show off your skill. Now, almost everything cool is just bought. And even if you do earn something in-game, no one knows or cares, because there's no visibility, no built-in stat tracking. A lot of games even hide your opponent's rank from you nowadays. There's no social layer around this. The only way to show off now is by making a YouTube video. Even in Tekken 8, a game that I absolutely love and have been playing pretty religiously since day one, it hasn't been able to pull me into that live service grind. I actually bought the game twice, once on PS5 and once on Steam. And again, I've played it consistently. And honestly, if it had proper cross-progression, I would probably be buying every DLC, every battle pass, and even skins for my main character. But they don't let you carry progress between the two platforms. And so I've bought none of it. That tiny bit of greed, that decision not to support cross-progression, has completely killed my desire to spend money on it. I'm not going to pick one platform and feel like I'm wasting money on the other. I play them both pretty equally, so I spend nothing. And then there's the issue of longevity. As soon as I hear that a game is losing players or might be shutting down, I immediately lose interest. Why get invested in a game that could disappear in 6 months? Why spend time learning the mechanics, grinding ranks, chasing unlocks, only to see the servers go dark? A recent example of this for me is Splitgate 2. I enjoyed what I played, but once I heard player numbers are dropping, I just couldn't be bothered to continue. What's the point? It's hard to stay motivated when the end feels inevitable. There's a weird thing happening where we have more games than ever before, and yet somehow I feel less excited about gaming than I ever have. It's like we're drowning in choice. The backlog is never ending, and instead of feeling energized by that, I feel paralyzed, stun-locked. I scroll through my library or the Steam store during the summer sale or Xbox Games Pass, and I just shut down. There's no friction, no shared moment, no urgency. Honestly, I I can't decide what to play when it comes to new games, and I very rarely play any of them. Every game demands hours of your life, and my backlog is so massive at this point that I'm never even gonna take a chunk out of it at this rate. It stops being exciting and starts feeling like an obligation. Like I've somehow failed by not keeping up with the sheer volume of releases. Back in the day, if a game came out that everyone was playing, again, like Halo 3 or Modern Warfare, you were either in or out. Everyone that played them talked about it, you jumped online with your friends, they were there, and now everyone's scattered across different games, different genres, different platforms, and if you don't jump in immediately, chances are it'll be dead in 6 months anyway. And even if your friends are playing a game you like, there's another problem. If you don't keep up with them in terms of skill or progression, you get left behind. That happened to me recently with Marvel Rivals. I was really enjoying the game when it launched, but I took a week off. I think my mouth broke, and I took a week off, and when I came back, my friends had raced ahead. They were queuing together, grinding ranks, learning new heroes. I just couldn't keep up, and as a result, I never played again. It stopped being fun. It stopped being social. And that's kind of the theme now. I don't really play games socially anymore, and that's a shame. Part of it is probably just growing up. The crew I used to play with are all adults now. Some have kids, most have jobs, and speaking for myself, we're probably all just too tired. So even when the stars do align and we're all online, the energy to stay in sync just isn't there like it used to be. It kills motivation, it kills investment, and it makes multiplayer games, which used to be the most social and sticky part of gaming, feel incredibly isolating now. Remember how it felt to cut down that first tree in Pokemon Red? That little moment where you used HM1 and suddenly there was a new path, a hidden zone, a secret item? That moment was electric. It was barely animated. It was just sprites, but because the game was so limited, so small, so mysterious, every little discovery felt massive. Now we've got enormous open worlds with fully voiced NPCs, cinematic cutscenes, and gorgeously rendered forests, and yet, somehow, I'm bored. I'm following map markers, collecting junk, ticking boxes. I don't feel like I'm exploring. I feel like I'm clearing a to-do list. Here's the thing. I've always disliked open world games. Ask anyone. And the more time goes on, the more strongly I feel about that. While it can be done well, I think it works pretty well in Spider-Man, for example, where the traversal is fun and fluid. Most of the time, open worlds just feel bland, empty, and overwhelming to me. I think MMOs might be a bit of an exception. I used to love exploring in World of Warcraft, exploring Azeroth when I was younger. There was something magical about entering a new zone for the first time, or discovering a cave that you didn't know that was there with some loot in it, especially on a fresh character. Maybe it's because you felt small living in a massive social world. Seeing other people going about their own adventures while you did your thing. Or maybe it's just nostalgia. But even then, World of Warcraft felt like a world I wanted to get lost in. The only game I've played recently that remotely recaptures that feeling is Blueprints. It's small, it's strange, it's full of mystery, and it doesn't really tell you that much. You feel like you're truly discovering for yourself. That's the kind of design I miss. Not bigger worlds, smaller, smarter ones. Okay, this might ruffle some feathers. I don't think this is going to be a particularly common take, but I don't really care about most game stories anymore. And it's not because games can't tell great stories. Some can, of course. Looking back, The Last of Us, Mass Effect, Telltale's The Walking Dead, Baldur's Gate 3, all brilliant. But what makes those games special isn't the writing or the cutscenes on their own. It's the RPG elements. Well, not The Last of Us. The Last of Us was more the writing. But yeah, the RPG elements in these other games. It's the way they put the story in your hands. The choices you make change outcomes. Characters respond to you. You're not just watching a story unfold, you're playing it. That interactivity is what makes the narrative hit harder. It's not a passive experience, it's collaborative. And that's what's missing in a lot of other games too. Often you're just watching, pressing buttons to advance a plot you didn't shape. And I'm sorry, but in a post-Breaking Bad, post-Severance world, that just doesn't cut it anymore. TV has evolved, and games, for the most part, have not caught up. Or worse, they've tried to copy the prestige of TV, forgetting that this is an interactive medium. I still love story. I used to be obsessed with the story in Final Fantasy XIII. Another hot take. I know, that's not a popular game. But those days, I'd rather discover the world as I play. Like in Blueprints, where the narrative is vague, it's eerie, and it unfolds organically. Or I want something fun and self-aware, like Mario or Resident Evil, games that know what they are and they aren't trying to be more than that. One game I really want to love, and I know so many people do, is Expedition 33, Clair Obscur. I've had countless people tell me that the story is amazing, that I have to push through and stick with it, and I want to, I really do. I just haven't managed to get past that initial barrier. The same one that stops me from playing so many of these new games these days. It's not the story that puts me off, it's the friction of starting something big when my attention span and motivation are constantly at war. There are still games that do hook me. Tekken 8 is the biggest example. It's competitive, it's immediate, it rewards mastery, you get instant feedback on how you're improving, and you feel it when you lose. The same with roguelikes. I'm obsessed with Balatro, Slay the Spire, more recently Starvaders. These games are tight, replayable, and designed to respect your time, even if they take up a lot of it. There's no fluff, just mechanics, iteration, satisfaction. And then there are the weird little indie games, the ones that don't try to be 100-hour cinematic experiences, the ones that give you a small world to poke at and yet suck you in, surprise you, that make you think. Blueprints is the biggest example from recently. There's something about indie and also Japanese developers in particular. They still seem to understand what makes a game fun. It comes from passion. They're not chasing the live service model. They're not trying to manipulate you. They're trying to make something good. Capcom is a great example. Ever since Resident Evil 7, they've been on a great run. Resident Evil Village, the remakes, Street Fighter 6, Monster Hunter World, even Dragon's Dogma 2. I haven't played any of those titles outside of the Resident Evil ones, but they've all been hits. People love them. Their games feel like they're made by people who actually play games. And then there's Nintendo. Say what you want about them, and believe me, I could make a whole separate video on their flaws. But one thing that stands out is how they treat their staff. They rarely do layoffs. They seem to have a long-term mindset, and above all, they still seem to care about making fun experiences. Not monetizable platforms, not forever grind machines. Just fun, wholesome, polished fun. Donkey Kong Bonanza looks like it's going to be great. Mario Odyssey was awesome. Compare that to Microsoft. Not only have they laid off thousands despite billion-dollar acquisitions, but the way they've handled Halo in particular hurts me on such a personal level. Halo used to be my all-time favorite franchise. Now, it's a bag that has been fumbled so hard, so repeatedly, that I think it literally hurts me. It hurts my soul. A large part of that failure seems to stem from Microsoft's 18-month contract system. Developers don't even have time to get familiar with the slipspace engine, which was unique to Halo Infinite, before they're moved on. That kind of churn guarantees inconsistently, and it shows in the final product. And what makes it sting even more is that there's clearly still appetite for a good Halo game. You've got massive content creators across the board, like Moist Critical, Asmongold, Pyrocynical, Lyric, Umpaville, Summit1G, Ninja, all of them would play a new Halo game if it was good, if it was complete from launch. We're here. We're waiting. We just need a good game, a finished one. And again, one that's complete at launch. That's it. Even if the mainstream industry keeps spiraling into profit-first chaos, mobile game, microtransaction hell, there are still developers out there, big and small, who get it, who remind me why I fell in love with games in the first place. So that's where I'm at. I don't know if I'm burnt out or if games just aren't what they used to be. Maybe it's both. Gaming has been such a huge part of my identity. It shaped who I am. It gave me confidence. It gave me a career. It helped me make friends, travel the world, and feel like I was a part of something bigger. So to say I've lost that spark, it honestly feels like I'm grieving a little bit. But I can't fake it. I still want to watch games. I still keep up with the news. I watch skill ups this week in video games every week without fail. I have done for years. I still keep up with all of the releases. I still feel that itch when I see a new game that looks cool, when something promising shows up. But when I sit down to play, 9 times out of 10, I bounce off. Maybe I haven't fallen out of love with gaming. Maybe I've just fallen out of love with what gaming has become. And honestly, I think that's okay. Because what I do love, the games that still work, the ones that surprise me, the ones that respect me, they remind me that there's still something here worth holding on to. Now, I've been banging on this drum for almost a decade now, but smaller games, the ones with limitations and focus, are so often better for it. I would love to see AAA developers revisit that mindset. Imagine a brand new pixel art, top-down perspective Pokemon game. Like the old games, but with the modern polish of something like Octopath Traveler or Sea of Stars. I don't play new Pokemon games anymore, but that I'd play. A game with intent, with purpose, with style and substance. Not just another big, empty, open world. But with Pokemon specifically, it probably doesn't matter. Not enough people are ever going to vote with their wallets on that. And it is what it is. Thanks for listening to my rant. If it resonated with you in any way, let me know in the comments. I will be reading them very keenly. I'll be back with more talky videos like this soon. And sorry for disappearing for so long. Bye.